Laurie Stewart. I'm the guy that started the Gaming Club Network, and currently I'm running a club known as Leeds Night Owls over in Leeds. About 40 or 50 guys, and we have a number of ex-tankies, ex-British servicemen, ex-guardsmen, and suddenly a game appeared, Team Yankee, which seems to have gripped these particular individuals. My own sort of, if you like, time with the British Army was Territorial Army, 13.5 years, with the Royal Electrical and Mechanical Engineers. And I was actually in Germany during exercise Spear Point, which was part of the Crusader exercise, and then 5 years later Lionheart, which was 1985 and actually coincided with Coyle's book about Team Yankee. So we dealt with a lot of the vehicles, mainly broken down ones, that were in exercise at that time. And of course that included the Chieftain, the XM1s, and quite a lot of the kit around them.
So what do you think of the Chieftain and the equipment you got to use?
The Chieftain was probably one of the best tanks at the time. The main fault with it was the engine. It was a multi-scavenging engine, and it didn't quite come off. But for all of the purposes, in my opinion, it was a brilliant tank. The only problem you had with it was to actually drive it button down, you had to lie on your back in a recumbent position, which proved to be a bit of a problem to some of the young drivers.
Yeah. So with any of the other equipment you used, you were in some of the armoured fighting vehicles?
Yeah, the 432s with a normal infantry vehicle, and then you had the Scorpion sets of vehicles, which were basically reconnaissance vehicles, and a whole series of ancillary stuff for taking out air or tanks. Awful lot of kit coming out at the time.
So you were in the reserve there for the second
I was
wave.
in the Territorial Army, and I think we attached to 2 BR Corps, which was just being brought into being at the time. And my job really was to provide recovery facilities, really on the main supply routes in and out. So we helped the tanks and tank transporters forward, and then brought the damaged stuff back.
Fantastic. So do you think the whole Cold War gone hot scenario was likely at the time? Or?
At the time, from what I've read, and it's reading afterwards, because even as an officer you don't see the whole thing, you see a microcosm around your particular unit. Reading about it afterwards, it looked like the Russians were getting a touch frisky and creating quite large exercises every year, which could have been turned into an invasion, basically.
Yeah.
And I think the British and the NATO forces got a little bit twitchy and decided that they would counter this with Spear Point, Crusader, and then into Lionheart, which has got to be the biggest exercises ever since the Second World War.
And that leads on to the Team Yankee scenario.
It does indeed. If you read the initial books about the Third World War, there were 2 produced, and Coyle's book is actually a small part developed from one of those books. Involves really just the American component.
Yeah. Okay. So you think the Russians would have fought hard, or the Brits were prepared enough?
I don't think we would ever be prepared enough.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I think we were getting better at the time. I think if it had happened 10 years before and they had actually come over, it might have been a different scenario.
Yeah.
Coyle's book actually is a touch optimistic, as is the Brigadier's Third World War books, and we do win in both of them. How we would have won, what our survival rates are, I wouldn't even like to think about. There were an awful lot of Russians.
Yeah. So do you think Team Yankee and the new Iron Maiden book kind of represents that scenario?
It does, actually. The fact that it's coming out, and one of the lads in the club was very keen to sort of try it, look at it and do it, because he's been in the tanks.
Yeah.
Made me reread all the books, and I think Team Yankee's certainly got the feel for it. I think with a 15mm you can identify individually with the tanks. It's a skirmish game, so it's containable in your own sort of ethos, and I think it really does reflect the sort of age. It reflects the vehicles, and the actual models, in my opinion, are superb.
Oh, excellent. That's always good to hear from someone who knows what they're talking about.
Well, I hope I do. I've been doing it for 57 years now, so yes, it really is. I like it. I think it's gripped quite a lot of probably ex-army guys, I think, to a degree, but there's a lot of younger lads in the club that are getting interested with it as well. I think it's containable because it's small units, and you can actually identify quite readily with it.
Yeah. Well, is there anything else you'd like to add, or?
Yes, I think you need more of them.
Fair enough. Hopefully in the future we will.
Good, yeah. I mean, it's easy to say, you know, you haven't got a Sultan, but how many would you sell?
Yeah.
You know, you haven't got Bedfords, but would you use them on the battlefield?
Yeah.
So there's only so much you can do. But I think as you've come along with each sort of, from the Americans to the Germans, the Russians to the British, it's got to be more contained. You've got all the vehicles I think you need to play the game, and I'm certainly looking forward to developing the Brits and seeing how they fight.
Oh, excellent. I think we all are. Well, thank you very much for coming, talking to us today.
No problem at all, anytime.
Hopefully we'll have a game in the future. That'd be good.
Well, you can come to the club anytime you want to and play every Sunday. Yeah.
Fantastic.